Hello everyone, today is 2nd of May, now it's 15 to 10 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment. And I will start with short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. We have additional confirmation of progress of Russian forces in Rabotina area. This is Zaporozhye sector of the front line, of course, and yesterday, head of NGO We Are With Russia, that is very active in Zaporozhye region of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Rogov, confirmed information that Russian flag have been raised in the northern parts of the settlement that was still controlled by Kyiv regime even a week ago, but it is under Russian control now. Although some big channels I know are disputing this Russian progress in Rabotina area, but according to information that I see in open sources, me personally, I have no doubts that Rabotina is under full Russian control. Clearing and the mining operation will take place for next several days, and most likely Russian Defense Ministry will make a statement about liberation of Rabotina. And because this settlement have somewhat symbolic has a somewhat symbolic meaning. Because after all Kyiv regime forces managed in Zaporozhye direction during this spring-summer counteroffensive in 2023 is to establish control over the Rabotina settlement. And therefore, because of this possible symbolic meaning, I would not be surprised at all if Defense Ministry of Russian Federation will take time and will make announcement about liberation of Rabotina on 9th of May, when we will celebrate a Victory Day here in Russia, or maybe day or 2 days before that. It is possible, but in any ways I have no doubts that Rabotina is under full Russian control already, and we will receive additional confirmations about that today, tomorrow, in next several days. When it comes to South Donetsk sector of the front line, Russian forces further increasing pressure on Ukrainian units in Urozhaina direction on Vremelsky salient, and Russian foothold is becoming bigger and bigger, and at some point in next couple of days, I guess, southern part of Urozhaina will become under full Russian control, and simultaneously we should expect Russian progress in Staromayorskaya direction. Also, these two settlements are bordering each other, as you can see here, and most likely before end of this week, before next week, I should say, probably we will receive information about Russian ground operations towards Staromayorskaya also. Anyways, it's only a matter of weeks, and both these settlements, Urozhaina and Staromayorskaya on Vremelsky salient, will become under full Russian control. Also, by the way, surprising information from Novomikhailivka, Konstantinovka direction on southern Donetsk sector of the front line. Yesterday, several big channels reported that Kyiv regime forces, surprisingly, unexpectedly, I should say, that's a more correct word, I guess, so unexpectedly left their positions in Paraskoviivka settlement, which is right next to Novomikhailivka on the northern western side of it. And right now, according to some sources, Russian military personnel is conducting clearing and demining operation, and I guess in next couple of days we will receive information. We will receive a statement. We will see statement from Defense Ministry of Russia about liberation of Paraskoviivka. Also, and next big hotspot on this direction, of course, will be Konstantinovka, much bigger settlement and much more important, strategically speaking, settlement for the Kyiv regime than Paraskoviivka, of course. When it comes to South Donetsk sector of the front line, I did not see in the media or Telegram channels any reportings on significant changes in Krasnogorovka direction, which is main hotspot on southern flank of Donetsk sector. But according to previously received information, Russian armed forces are controlling southern parts of this settlement and the industrial area of the central part, and the initiative is in Russian hands. And despite deployment of additional reserves towards Krasnogorovka, Seems like Kyiv regime is unable to stabilize situation there, and whenever Russian forces increasing pressure on Kyiv regime forces, they are managing to further improve their positions and further advance in this settlement. Next is Avdiivka direction, of course, and in Avdiivka sector we also have a significant number of updates. Russian forces are closing into Sokol settlement which is on the southern western part of Ocheretino. Ocheretino itself, of course, already under Russian control. Also, by the way, several channels are reporting about Russian progress in direction of Arkhangelskaya, and quite a big military channels reported that Kyiv regime forces also left Arkhangelskaya also. And right now, Russian armed forces conducting clearing operation in this settlement. So probably we will receive some additional news about it in upcoming days. Maybe today, that Arkhangelsk is also under Russian control, and same can be said about Ceramic settlement and Novokalinovka. Both these settlements are also under Russian control, and basically, entire this area, Ocheretino, Arkhangelsk, Ceramic, Novokalinovo, Novobakhmutovka on the southern side, and Solovyova already are under Russian control, and Russian forces clearly managed to establish quite a huge bridgehead on the northern flank of Avdiivka direction, and Kyiv regime forces are basically unable to do anything about it, despite deployment of additional reserves. They cannot stabilize front line, and of course, northern flank of Donetsk sector, main hotspot is Chisov Yar. And even though right now there is no ground operations inside the Chisov Yar, Russian forces conducting successful flanking operations from the southern side. Russian military has established control over the forestry, this forestry here, and Rich Canal district. And military experts are expecting same kind of operation from the northern side. And once Russian forces will establish control over the Kalinina settlement and will reach this waterway channel, then one should expect Russian ground operation towards inside the Chisov Yar itself. And first of all, of course, most eastern part of Chisov Yar, which is located on the eastern side of this water channel, irrigation channel, I should say, canal district. And the Russian forces, by the way, are already in outskirts of these settlements. They have even small foothold on the eastern part of this district, and the Dachi area is also under Russian control, partial at least, under a partial Russian control. And this is it when it comes to a short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. I did not see any reports on changes on line of contact and on the northern sectors of the front line on Krasny Liman or Kupiansk direction. During the day we might receive some information about it, and of course I will share this additional information on my Telegram channel and during the second update on my Patreon page. Okay, that's been said, let's go through some additional news now. And well, of course, first of all, I will mention that today is 10-year since Odessa tragedy took place, when Ukrainian neo-Nazis blocked in unions building dozens of people, pro-Russian people, and they throw Molotov cocktails into building. There was a fire in the building, and 42 people, by the way, was basically killed this way by these neo-Nazis. Many of them suffocated, and many of them were burned alive. That's the face, by the way, of Kyiv regime since 2014. That's the type of people that are running Ukraine. And more than 250 people, by the way, were injured during that pogroms, basically, that took place in Odessa, in which a huge role play, of course, Ukrainian neo-Nazis. And one of the active participants of that neo-Nazi crowd, neo-Nazi mob, is MP now in Ukraine. At least one of them is MP. And he was even representing Ukraine in European Parliament, if I'm not mistaken. Gancharenko, that's his surname. I believe he will, he will end up in a court one day, and he will answer for all the crimes that he committed, he and his associates. But of course, we have to remember today what those criminals, those neo-Nazi mass murderers, did on 2nd of May in 2014 in Odessa. And by the way, on Vzglyad newspaper, article was published under the headline that Odessa is waiting from Russia justice for 2nd of May, and I'm 100% sure that justice will be served, and Russia will liberate Odessa from neo-Nazis, and will punish all those that were involved in this killing of the civilians on 2nd of May in 2014. RIA Novosti's report that during the nighttime, Russian air defense systems shut down 12 Ukrainian drones over the different regions of the Russian territory, although unfortunately several drones seems like managed to bypass Russian air defense systems, and as a result, energo facilities were damaged in Glazunovsky and Sverdlovsky districts of the Oryol region of the Russian Federation. So Kiev regime is continuing attempts to strike deep inside Russian territory, and they are focused on energo facilities. Russia will deal with this threat undoubtedly, but current situation definitely highlights how dangerous it is to put oil refineries, some crucial energo facilities close to NATO-controlled territory. I will say that way, because modern Ukraine is, of course, for now controlled by NATO in general, with the exception of territories that, of course, already been liberated by Russia. So therefore, some decisions have to be made, and maybe it is worth to evacuate those energo facilities. It will take time, obviously, but maybe it works to evacuate those facilities towards Ural Mountains, or even towards Far East of the Russian Federation. It may make it a little more difficult logistically to deliver all the necessary oil products from Far East towards the European part of the Russian Federation. But we can clearly see now that high concentration of these oil refineries, some other energo facilities in a close vicinity from the NATO-controlled territory is dangerous. It's unsafe. And probably decisions will be made in Moscow, and in next couple of years, I guess more and more new oil refineries will be opened in the Ural Mountains area Ural regions, in Siberia, in Far East. That's much more practical, let's say this way. Because main danger for Russia comes from NATO. It's just factual, isn't it? Anyway, let's continue. And Russia is also conducting strikes deep inside Kiev controlled territory, of course, on points of concentration of Kiev regime forces and military equipment, on logistical infrastructure. And we have RIA Novosti's report here that Russian forces conducted strike on the portal area of Achakov on the Black Sea, in between Nikolaev and Odessa. That's approximate area where Achakov is located. And a significant damage was done to warehouses where the regime was storing its drones and some other military equipment. Same time, by the way, yesterday there was huge strike on military and logistics infrastructure of Kiev regime in Odessa, and I shared on my Telegram some pictures, some videos. It was serious, very serious strike, massive fire in the area, and during the day probably we will learn some more about what exactly was targeted. Maybe it was an oil refinery, or some channels even reported that Russia conducted strike on Ukrainian post infrastructure and Ukrainian mail delivery. This logistical company, Ukrainskaya Pochta or something like that, have been used many times to transfer weapons and military equipment. Yesterday I shared even in a photo and video confirmation of that. And if this is the case, if Russian forces conducted strike on warehouses of this Ukrainskaya Pochta or whatever that name is of that company, then one should expect that significant number of weapons and military equipment that was delivered to Kiev regime from NATO member states have been destroyed. But yet again, no official information yet. Maybe Russian Defense Ministry will share with us in today's briefing on progress of Russian special military operation. Maybe Defense Ministry will share with us some more information. But strike was really, I mean, massive, and from videos and photos that I see, I mean, we can clearly judge that it was a huge blaze. By the way, it was a huge blaze. If that warehouse was full of weapon systems, and it is understandable. This fire came from. Anyway, let's continue. Lenta.ru is reporting that official representative of Kiev regime's Air Force, Ilya Yevlash, made yesterday kind of announcement that F-16s may arrive in Ukraine or may appear in Ukrainian skies after celebration of the Orthodox Easter. And this year we are celebrating Orthodox Easter on 5th of May. And well, let's see, after 5th of May, any day, according to this individual, we might see F-16s in Ukrainian sky. I'm a little skeptical that F-16s will appear in Ukraine ever, not just in during this spring or summertime, but ever. But let's see, anything is possible. And my skepticism came from knowledge that F-16s and Western fighter jets in general, fighter jets, fighter bombers, are very demanding when it comes to maintenance. They are not as agile as Soviet airplane. When I mean, MiG-29s, by the way, can take off from fields, unprepared fields. Same can be done with Su-24, some other Soviet airplanes, Su-25s. But Western fighter jets, they are more fragile stuff, and they need some proper conditions to operate, and they need constant maintenance. And therefore, I find it difficult to believe that Kiev regime will manage to create a military base somewhere that Kiev controls for now in any area of Ukraine, and hide it from Russian military intelligence. How it's even possible. So therefore, I guess it is highly unlikely that F-16s will operate from Ukraine, and Moscow already made it clear to everybody that if Romania or any other country, by the way, Romania, Poland, whoever, Moldova, will provide Kiev regime with airfields to operate with F-16s from their territories, Moscow will see this as an act of war from those countries and will take action. So it is what it is. Let's see, by the way, let's see how all things develop. But in any case, Ilya Yevlash, official representative of Ukraine's Air Force, Our Kiev regime's Air Force is making an announcement that after 5th of May, we should expect arrival of F-16s in Ukraine. Boosty. By the way, I will notice, if I may, that this small media project of mine, exists with several channels, exists solely thanks to support of members of our community, and well, if you find this channel interesting, useful, and if you want to support my work, you can do it with small donations through Boosty. By the way, this very convenient platform, very convenient for creators, because me personally, I'm in Russia now, and if I have a donation, then platform automatically transfers it in rubles and sends to my account. I don't have to do nothing. Very convenient, and I mean, you can subscribe also if you want to. I have some pictures here on Boosty. I will add some more, and also, of course, you can support my work through PayPal, and by subscribing to my Patreon page, on which, by the way, I have some extra content on regular basis, at least several times a week. I have some extra videos there, news updates, non-political videos, photos also, and so on. All the links, by the way, under this video in description box and in the pinned comment. Let's continue now, and RIA Novosti's report that Russian armed forces destroyed 2 HIMARS multi-launch rocket systems in Kupiansk direction. Yesterday I shared video about destruction of at least one of those HIMARS, launchers, and there was another video also circulating on internet with destruction of another one. So it is quite understandable, because US transferred, according to Western media, more than 100 ATACMS long-range ballistic missiles to Kiev regime. It is quite understandable that Russian military intelligence are hunting down now as much as possible those HIMARS launchers, because ATACMS missiles are launched from those platforms. Also, by the way, Vzglyad newspaper is reporting about article in Forbes, according to which 47th Brigade of Ukrainian Armed Forces that was armed and still armed with the Bradley infantry fighting vehicles and US-made Bradley infantry fighting vehicles and M1A1 Abrams tanks. According to Forbes, that brigade, 47th, already lost 40 Bradleys and at least 5 Abrams tanks. And well, I will say that this estimation from Forbes is too conservative, really. I believe a real number of losses in terms of Bradleys, like twice higher, maybe even more, because almost on daily basis we see videos of destruction of those Bradleys, and a bunch of those Bradleys have been taken as a trophies by Russian forces. So 40 is definitely, I mean, too conservative estimate. I believe from 200 Bradleys that this 47th Brigade had, initially at least 100 is destroyed, and another 20 or 30 probably are damaged or need some repair. So in real terms, maybe 47th Brigade has like 40-50 another Bradleys that are operational, and that's all. And when it comes to Abrams tanks, yes, we have a video and photo confirmation of destruction of at least 5 Abrams tanks. But, dear friends, we should keep in mind that long-range Russian strikes on military echelons of Kiev regime, that is happening on regular basis. Because of the strikes, it is highly likely, and not just on echelons, but also on warehouses where military equipment is stored by Kiev regime. It is highly likely that significantly more Abrams tanks have been destroyed during the transportation or storage. we will learn something about it. And yes, when it comes to Bradleys and Abrams, of course, both you can see in Moscow those few of those equipment, NATO equipment, in open air exposition that opened yesterday. You can see there Bradley, you can see there Abrams, and many other NATO-made military equipment. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that well, Polish defense minister come up with the statements about Ukrainian male refugees, military age male refugees, and well, let's go through this news. The European Union should come up with a uniform approach to dealing with the draft eligible Ukrainian men residing in a bloc. Polish defense minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamyz has argued Warsaw is willing to assist Kiev, which has recently intensified efforts to conscript more servicemen. This individual added, this minister, facing an intensifying shortage of the personnel on the front line, Ukrainian government last month amended its mobilization law, lowering the age of conscription from 27 to 25 and tightening exemptions and adding harsher penalties for draft dodgers. Last week, the Ukrainian authorities also stopped issuing passports to all men aged 18 to 60 who live abroad and have not registered at the military recruitment centers back home. Speaking during the press conference on Tuesday, Kosiniak-Kamyz, defense minister of Poland, stated that it is very important, and we talked about it, that these are solutions at the European level. And I know that talks between Ukraine and Brussels, between Kiev and Brussels, are ongoing on this topic. According to their minister, solution at the European level will ensure full effectiveness of this action. So basically, what's going on is that Poland, the Baltic states, and I believe some others will start doing the same. They are pushing this narrative that Ukrainian male refugees, military age refugees, one way or another, but should be deported in Ukraine, to be conscripted, then to be forcefully mobilized and sent to the front line, to be sacrificed basically for geopolitical agenda of the Western ruling class. And I have no doubts that Brussels will come up some solutions how to legalize deportation of those Ukrainian male refugees. Brussels will, you know, if currently there is no legislation that allows Brussels and EU member states in legal terms to deport those people, they will create some legislation in next few days or few weeks. You know, they will come up with something, and eventually tens of thousands or possibly even hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian male refugees will be sent back to Ukraine. Well, if Ukrainian refugees in Europe have any opportunity to move somewhere else from Europe, they should do this before it's not too late, because things may go down horribly wrong for them in a very short time. And if you remember, dear friends, I was saying that this will happen in Europe. I was saying this for quite a long time, and initially many members of our community was quite skeptical, and they were arguing with me that no, Europe cannot act this way, and it's illegal and stuff like that. And I can understand logic that our members of our community were coming from by sharing this opinion, but same time we should take in account what kind of people are in charge in Brussels or in majority of the EU member states. For them, nothing has any real meaning, really. Human rights is empty words for them. Rights of refugees, it's an empty word for them. And therefore, they will, in emergency terms, come up with some solutions to create this legal basement, formally legal basement, to deport as many Ukrainian male, military-age male refugees as possible. Maybe even females, by the way, because you know current ideological trends among neoliberals that are and globalists that are in charge in the collective West in general, in majority of the countries. I mean, they are all for equality or whatever they're calling this stuff. So, you know, they may start deporting females also. It is what it is, man. And even high-ranking officials in Ukraine, by the way, are calling for mobilization of females because of this extreme lack of manpower on the line of contact. They will sacrifice everybody, man. They will sacrifice Western ruling class and their puppets in Ukraine's in Kiev regime. They will sacrifice everybody for their own personal gains and for geopolitical agenda of the Western ruling class. It is just factual. Lentaru is reporting that Ukrainian diplomat, by the way, take example from Baltic diplomat from one of the Baltic states, and come up with this post by threatening Crimean bridge. And this is not just any diplomat, but official representative of Ukraine into UN, Sergei Kislitsa. This is head of Ukraine's mission in UN, by the way. So one of the top diplomats of the Kiev regime. And that's what he posted on his Twitter account. Some different type of bridges, and then Kerch Bridge or Crimean Bridge. Nothing there. So clearly threat that Kiev regime will take down that bridge. I mean, this is medical issue, by the way. This obsession that Kiev regime and the Western ruling class has with Crimean Bridge, this is medical issue. Psychiatrists should work with these individuals, because in practical terms, even if we imagine, and I spoke about this topic a few times before, isn't it, that even if we imagine that Kiev regime successfully damaged Crimean Bridge, it is impossible to destroy completely, because it's huge bridge. But let's conduct this thoughts experiment and imagine that Kiev regime somehow and their Western masters somehow damaged Crimean Bridge. They did it a few times before, so they are quite capable of. And what will it change on a battlefield in strategical terms? It will change nothing, because I mean, what is Crimean Bridge compared to land bridge that Russia has from towards Crimea, Kherson, Zaporozhye regions? Just look at this, by the way. This is land bridge that connects Crimea with mainland Russia, and this in this tiny area here, it's a Crimean bridge. So I mean, I don't know, man. This is clearly obsession. It's psychiatrical some issue that Western ruling class has and the Kiev regime, and I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they can threaten to destroy Crimean Bridge or to damage Crimean Bridge as much as they like, but one is for sure, that even if Crimean Bridge is damaged, it will change nothing. It will just simply change nothing, militarily speaking, strategically speaking, logistically speaking. In any terms, it will change nothing. Kiev regime will celebrate victory for a day or two. Western media will go crazy and will celebrate destruction of this terrorist attack, basically, because it's a civilian infrastructure. But Western media and the Western ruling class will celebrate for a day or two, and that's it. That's it. On the ground, in practical terms, it will change nothing. And of course, if the bridge is damaged, it will take months or two, and well, Russian engineers will restore it. It happened a few times before, and if it's necessary, if bridge is damaged, then Russian engineers will take care of it. Once again, no big deal. Unbelievable, man. Whenever they are talking about Crimean bridge, by the way, main thoughts that I have, when and how they're going to conduct strikes. Of course, there will be strikes towards Crimean bridge, and hopefully Russian side is ready and will repel all those attacks. But it's a civilian infrastructure, by the way. There are cars, tens and hundreds of cars on that bridge at any one time. There are civilian passenger trains, by the way, that circulating on that bridge. And it is dangerous. I mean, we know how reckless Kiev regime is, and I'm afraid there is a high risk that Kiev regime will conduct strikes towards Crimean bridge when there is, and many people, many civilians may become casualties of that terrorist attack. Lives of civilians, that's what worries me. But when it comes to bridge itself, Russia can shut down that bridge right now and it will change nothing. It will just make maybe trip a little longer from mainland Russia to Crimea for a couple of hours, and that's it. It will change nothing. Anyway, let's continue. And US, by the way, come up with additional sanctions against few dozen of Russian companies and few dozen of Russian citizens. Okay, I mean, this is a language of diplomacy. This is a level of diplomacy that Washington and collective West in general has right now. They are unable to conduct diplomatic work. All they can is to threaten, sanction, intimidate. And with some countries it does works, but with Russia it does not. No one really cares about US sanctions here in Russia, and no one will care about. That's all. More sanctions Western ruling class will impose on Russia, more isolated collective West will become from rest of the world. That's how it is. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, by the way, I mentioned a few minutes ago that NATO military equipment can be seen in Moscow. They made it to Moscow, by the way. And I was not joking, of course. Yesterday on Poklonnaya Gora, in Park of Victory, or Victory Park, open-air exhibition opened where dozens of Ukrainian and the NATO produced military equipment is presented. Trophies, by the way, that was captured by Russian forces. And on my Telegram I shared some photographs from this area. Of course, in upcoming days I will definitely try to go there and make some video and photos for our community. But right now, I'm not going to do this because it's a sea of people, by the way, there. Sea of people, everyone wants to go there, see these trophies, and therefore, I guess it will be difficult to make content right now. But next week, probably, I mean, now, next week, probably, there will be less agitage about this exhibition, and maybe I will have opportunity to go there and make videos and photos to highlight all military equipment, because even on this picture, by the way, you can say how many people was there. But this is Abrams, of course. This is US made Abrams tank. This is US made M777 howitzer. This is Hammer, isn't it? US Hammer personal carrier. This is a French wheeled tank, by the way, light wheeled tank. Couple of them have been captured. This is I don't even know what this is, man. Some truck. some British personal carrier, some sort of I mean also British one here. This is a Ukrainian builder BTR 403, something like that. Plenty of equipment, by the way. This is Swedish SV-90 infantry fighting vehicle. Some Ukrainian stuff, some hybrid. So yes, plenty of trophies there, by the way, and Leopard 2, of course, Leopard 2 A6. So yes, these days anyone that has any interest can go on Poklona Gora and see this NATO military, Ukrainian and NATO military equipment. And by the way, yesterday I also did share from DD Geopolitics. Ozzy Kozak posted this, by the way. This is a 1944 Moscow open air exhibition of German trophies. You can see there Tiger. This is Panzer IV, this one. And this is also looks like Panzer IV or Panzer III. And this is, I mean, this is 1944, and this is 2024. Leopard 2. German Leopard 2, man. History does repeats itself, isn't it? Anyway, let's continue. And dear friends, also interesting point that organizers, by the way, this is a Bradley, of course, infantry fighting vehicle, which is also presented there. US made M2 Bradley. And well, yesterday I saw, and I share on my Telegram this information also, that organizers of this exhibition clearly have some sense of humor. In this case, it's a dark humor, sort of, because there was this sign in the entrance to this exhibition, because there was a sea of people. People were queuing for quite a long time to go there and see that equipment. And you can see sign here, and I will read it for you. I will translate it for you. Attention, staff of the embassies of US, United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Poland. For staff of these embassies, entrance is free. They don't have to queue in to see trophy NATO military equipment. So that was quite interesting to see this. It's dark humor, of course, dark humor. Organizers clearly laughed at ruling elites of the West, in these countries in particular. But it is what it is. I guess there was staff of embassies of those countries and many other NATO member countries there to see that equipment. I have no doubts about it. That they went there, they make videos, photos. Of course they did. TASS news agency is reporting that the president of Colombia, by the way, threatened that today Colombia will cut its diplomatic ties with Israel. Well, this is of course big deal. This, if true, if Colombia will proceed with this, then Colombia gonna be second country from Latin America that will cut diplomatic ties with Israel, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see how will things develop. But military actions of the Netanyahu and actions in general of Netanyahu's government clearly are putting Israel in a very difficult situation when Israel is losing support worldwide. It's just undisputed. Because of the Netanyahu and his government and their actions, Israel definitely is losing support worldwide. It's just too obvious. RIA Novosti's report, by the way, that Georgian parliament adopted in second reading yesterday law about foreign agents. There was once again demonstrations on the streets of Tbilisi, capital of Georgia, demonstrations and protests of the Western-controlled crowd, Western-controlled so-called oppositions, non-governmental organizations, and the media. There was a clashes with the police also. Well, third reading, by the way, third and final reading will take place probably in about 2 weeks. Time. Although West is already reacting, by the way, there are calls in European Parliament to strip Georgia candidacy or to join EU, and there are threats from Brussels that may happen. And also, U.S. State Department, by the way, is warning Georgian government that if they will proceed, if they will continue with adopting this law about foreign agents, it might derail Georgia's aspiration to join EU and NATO. Okay, threats, by the way, threats. That's the only language that collective West or Western ruling class is operating with nowadays. Against everybody they don't like, against everybody. Let's see how will things develop. But Georgian government definitely needs to be strong, and Georgian security services, by the way, because and Georgian security services should conduct further, detailed check on their own personnel to make sure that among high-ranking officers in army, in police, in secret services, there are no assets of the CIA, because I'm quite sure there are plenty. And I'm quite sure if Washington is determined to conduct regime change in Georgia, to then use Georgia against Russia and sacrifice it, basically, Unfortunately, it is highly likely that Washington will succeed in it. That's how much influence Washington has, and how many assets, not just among the so-called opposition, but also in, I believe, ruling party, and also in security services, army, police, secret services. So, well, Georgian leadership have to analyze all this situation, and if they want to go forward with this adaptation of this law, then they should take all necessary measures to make sure that, first of all, society of Georgia is safe and secure, because regime change, if Washington will conduct regime change, of course it will be basically end of Georgia, because Washington will sacrifice this republic, this former Soviet republic. And Georgia may end up in military conflict, not just in case of regime change. Georgia may end up in military conflict, not just in South Ossetia or Abkhazia or with Russia, but also even with Armenia. So it's very difficult times for Georgia, and the Georgian government should be very careful and very prepared for this kind of confrontation with Washington, with the ruling class of the West. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that how long is this? I will end this update on this news, that United Kingdom wants to join air defense system that EU plans to build. Heavenly Shield, that's gonna be name of that system. Okay, quite understandable if UK wants to be part of collective air defense systems. I don't think there is any threat for EU or NATO, at least from Russia, but if they have any plans to further escalate with Russia and provoke full-scale war, then it does. In that case, it definitely does make sense to spend another tens and possibly hundreds of billions on air defense. Although if a full-scale conflict will be provoked between Russia and NATO, I don't think anything will help this world. not just Europe, but this world in general, because nuclear exchange between Russia and NATO means end of human civilization. That's what it is. And let's hope it will never happen. Let's hope it will never happen. But information is that UK wants to join this EU initiative to create something like Iron Dome that Israel has over the entire EU. Okay, it's gonna be a scheme to money laundering scheme. I have no doubts about it. Tens of billions of euros will go in pockets of corrupt officials and military-industrial complex, but it's up to EU citizens, really. It's up to European citizens to deal with this issue. I can do really nothing about it, so only report, and that's what I do. And hopefully you will find this news update informative and interesting, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. This is the only way we can influence algorithm and reach wider audience. And for very same reason, if you can please share links to my videos or my channels with your friends on any of the platforms that you are active on, or in person. I mean, you can, I mean, how you say in English, spread the word, isn't it, about my channel. But anyways, and by the way, if you want to support my work, you can do it with small donation through PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links under this video and in description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.